I did.
Go ahead and call this meeting in order. First item is roll call.
Alderman Arnold.
Here.
Alderman Bass. Alderman Cleaver.
Here.
Alderman Knox.
Here.
Alderman Mills.
Here.
Alderman Skinner.
Here.
There is a quorum.
Okay. Next item be invocation led by Pastor Wayne Geiger of First Baptist Church, followed by a pledge of allegiance from Alderman Knox.
Father, we do thank you for the great freedoms that we enjoy in this country. We thank you for the many blessings that you provide. We recognize that we're good, kind, compassionate, and gracious. We're thankful, our Father, for the many good things you give us to enjoy. We ask this evening that you bless us with your presence and your wisdom and all we say to you tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
All down here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next item is the approval of the agenda.
No changes, Mayor.
Seeing no proclamations, the next item will be citizens' participation. We ask the citizens come forward to the podium and microphone, and please give your name and address for the record. Do we have anyone who wishes to address the board this evening? Just a bell? Now you have to address the board. No. Did you?
My name is Steve Reeman. I live at 1222 Indian Creek Court. I just wanted the council to know that the dog nuisance on the corner down there that took place was unfortunate. I want the council to know that it was never my intention to have the dog removed from the family. I'm a dog lover myself. I just wanted the dog to be contained where it could do no harm. The family loves their dog just as much as any gentleman here or ladies would enjoy their family pet. Just wanted to make that clear to the council. It's never my intent for this dog to be taken away from the family.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, my name is Joanne Watson Honeywell, and I live at 809 Southwest Montana Ridge Drive. And to what Steve was speaking of, about having the dog removed, well, where this all came about, the people that own the dog put some nasty remarks on Facebook about Steve and I, that we were lying about being attacked by the dog and other things, and she put on there that we wanted the dog taken away from them and put down. That was not our intention. And finally, I responded because I didn't want anybody to call me a liar about what happened to me. I know what happened to me. And I let them know. They didn't bother to see how either of us was. They attacked Steve after they did me. He got out and got after Steve after he did me. Same thing, come under the fence, run up there, and was chasing him. And Steve had to back up and swing a stick. And when we called the police and went down there, they were very testy with the police, the people that owned the dog. So Steve or I couldn't approach them without someone being there, because if they were testy with the police, they would have been testy with us. But the bottom line is, we don't want the dog put down. We're not against pit bulls. We don't want a pit bull ban. We want that dog contained because he's aggressive. That's the main point. And I don't know, I understand the dog's still there, but I haven't seen him get out lately. But we weren't the only two the dog got out and chased. He got out and chased some kids, and he got out and chased some other people. And finally, after the conversation, I'm trying to make this quick, online after the back and forth, and I told them they were in denial about the dog being aggressive and that they didn't bother to check on anybody. They did come and apologize. The husband was sincere, the wife not so much, but I found out it was the wife's teenage sister that was posting the vitriol on Facebook. And that's just not the thing to do. Between Stephen, myself, and the other neighbors, if they had reached out right afterwards, all of this wouldn't have happened. We would have even went and tried to help them reinforce that fence. But they never asked, they never bothered to see who was involved or what went on. 13 days later, when all this went on, because I did acknowledge it to one of the aldermen, then they came to say they were sorry because they were getting bad messages on Facebook themselves. And I didn't respond to anybody but them, and never in a derogatory way. I stated the truth. The dog tried to attack me. When I ran, and there were witnesses, and the dog tried to chase me into a car. And he had to get backwards, going up the hill and swinging at the dog to get away from him. Scared him. He was nervous and upset. And so that's when we called the police. So we don't know what the disposition is, what has happened. I know Animal Control has reached out to me once since then, but I haven't talked to any more. But if the dog is contained, we don't have a problem. If the dog's not contained, we have a problem. Like I said, I altered my walking. He did too for a while. So I guess we just kind of want some resolution and to know. I've walked one time that way, but I'm very leery. So that's where we are with that situation. Okay, thank you.
Ken, do you have any kind of, I don't know if Captain knows anything or not. I mean, do we have any update?
I don't know the disposition of the dog. They've been assigned a court date, but it hasn't been.
Okay, so
So I don't know if they got rid of the dog or if it's still there, but they've got him contained.
okay,
But they've got a court date coming up.
okay. All right. Anyone else wish to address the board? All right. Seeing none, move on to the consent agenda.
Mayor, I move that we accept the consent agenda.
I have a motion from Alderman Skinner to accept the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Arnold. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Seeing no previous business, new business, presentations, or public hearings. Move on to resolutions. First resolution, R22-43, is a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to expend funds to purchase security surveillance cameras.
Mayor, I move that we accept resolution 22-43.
Okay, I have a motion from Alderman Arnold to approve resolution R22-43. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Knox. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, if you remember when we went through budget time, the upgrade of the camera system was something that was an approved item in the budget. So what you have before you, well, since then, the system we had completely stopped working. So we hope to get a little more time out of it, but that didn't happen. But this would be cameras to replace the community center, public works maintenance, and then an additional camera at the Tire Road tank. One of the big things with maintenance and with Tire Road tank is that's where our water is. That's very important to actually have that monitored. And that's one of the things when we get our inspections that kind of have to check that box that we do actually have a monitoring system in place.
Do you have any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Next up, we have resolution R22-44, a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley authorizing the city administrator to lease a skid steer for the Public Works Division to complete routine tasks and projects.
Mayor, I move we approve resolution number R 22-44.
I have a motion, Alderman Cleaver, to accept resolution R 22-44. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Mills. Any discussion?
Mayor and members of the board, this is something that we've done since 2011 on the skid steer, is go the lease route versus purchase, and this would be an updated agreement for that, the lease of that piece of equipment.
Any questions or discussion? All right. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Next up, we have resolution R 22-45, a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley appointing Sean Brady and reappointing Brian Bray and Norm Coombs to the Grand Valley Parks and Recreation Board for 3-year terms.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept resolution R 22-45.
Okay, I got a motion from Alderman Knox to approve resolution R 22-45. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Cleaver. Any discussion?
Mayor and members of the board, as it said in the title, this would be reappointing Norm Combs and Brian Bray to the Parks and Recreation Board, and then Sean Brady would be a new appointment to that board, which would make it whole.
Do you have any discussion or questions? All right. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Passes. Next up, we have resolution R 22-46, a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley establishing the need to amend the 2022 budget to execute the purchase and installation of a new compressor for the Grand Valley Community Center.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number R 22-46.
I have a motion from Alderman Mills to approve resolution R 22-46. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Arnold. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mayor and members of the board, unfortunately, the community center had a similar to, I guess, City Hall. The community center had a failure with its compressor. It was the original one with the building, so it was built in 2001, so it was 21 years old. But that was something we went ahead and did as an emergency agreement. So luckily, they were actually out there today while we've got a little cool weather before it gets hot. So the people in the gym only have had to have a few days of the doors open and fans going to keep cool.
Is that a ground unit?
Yeah, everything over there for all this stuff, it would be ground.
Any additional questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. 5-0. Next up, we have resolution R 22-47, a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Twin Traffic Markings Corporation for pavement markings.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number R 22-47.
I have a motion from Alderman Skinner to approve resolution R 22-47. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Cleaver. Any discussion?
Mayor and members of the board, this agreement would be kind of the last phase of our street maintenance for this year. This would be for the pavement markings on Duncan Road and Snybar.
Do we have any questions, comments? All right. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. 0. Next up, we have resolution R 22-48, a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley, Missouri, establishing the need to amend the 2022 budget to increase the agreement with Superior Bowen Asphalt Company for the 2022 pavement maintenance program.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution 22-48.
I have a motion from Alderman Arnold to approve resolution R 22-48. I have a second.
Second.
Second, Alderman Mills. Any discussion?
Mayor and members of the board, we ran into a little bit of an issue when we got down to Tisha Lane and they milled the road to do the overlay. Mr. Trozen actually has some pictures of the process, but essentially once they milled it, it was found that there wasn't really a base underneath the road. So once that little bit was milled off the top and a car drove over it, you'd basically have mud coming up through. Yep. Which at the end of the day means that you can't just put a top layer back on it. Yeah, we'd have to do a full reconstruct. So that obviously would put us over our budget. So this budget amendment would be to take money out of the capital improvement fund to fund that. Because they were already out there and working, obviously we told them to continue on it versus stopping and then have them come back. But this is just a step that we need to take in that process. Big picture, this is one of the reasons we put so much importance on inspections now as everything's going in, because this is what you run into if things aren't inspected. Everything's going to cost more. It's going to fail a lot quicker, and it's just not sustainable. So inspection on the front end is something that's very important, and Mark and his department has done a great job on trying to improve that aspect of development.
Mark was out there at 7:30 this morning inspecting it. That's all.
How old was that road?
So it would have been, early 2000s.
I knew it was older, but I didn't think it was quite that old. But
Yeah, because they were building on that, I think, before I got here in 06, so.
Even though it was 20 years old, it shouldn't have had that type of a failure.
I think the guy that was doing that subdivision, wasn't he an ex-city inspector or something? If I remember right.
No.
He was no longer working with us. He bought that and he worked that development, I thought.
I don't know of that, but yeah. Hey, we've been fairly lucky. This is only the second one that I remember that's been that bad, and the other one was in the old Cross Creek subdivision,
Yeah.
just to the west of the schools there. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
I drove down to Chelan about a month and a half ago, thought I was gonna have to go on four-wheel drive. It's like, holy smoke.
And I know a lot of those roads go down, seems like asphalt straight on concrete, straight on dirt. Do we require any type of crush run underneath the asphalt?
Yeah, and on those pictures, it kind of shows the process of what they're going through right now with it.
All right.
Additional questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
First one is Bill number B-2215. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 225 nuisances of the Code of Ordinances in Section 225.010 definitions, 225.030 enumeration, and 225.050 weeds.
Mayor, I move that we accept the second reading of bill number B-2215 and approve it as ordinance number 2587.
I have a motion from Alderman Mills to approve Bill B-22-15 for its second reading, making ordinance 2587. Have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Knox. Any discussion?
Is this the weed ordinance?
Mhm.
Okay. I had somebody ask me about if somebody had multiple lots, and I had to go back and reread it and see that it is specific to an individual and a specific lot. If they own multiple lots, it would take each deal. But I noticed that the ordinance uses a rolling 12-month calendar thing instead of a calendar year. And I could see some confusion where if someone in late fall, say September, October, had a couple of incidents where they had gotten notices, and then their very first notice the following spring would be their third notice, which we would be going out and mowing. And I could see a lot of confusion in people thinking, well, that was last year. We started, they're thinking they started a new year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something too that our codes official can relay to the property owner, whether that's in the letter that they get or just in that communication to them, is that this will be once it happens again in that 12-month period, this is kind of what will happen with it.
I personally would rather have it read that it's for this mowing season. So no matter, from March or whatever to the end of October, and the next year you start over rather than trying to carry over from one year to the next. And
So you would just specify it just put it from January 1 to December 31st, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be in favor of actually designating a season just because of how that can change, but
either season or or calendar year as opposed to a rolling 12 months.
And I don't, Mark, was that a conversation at all during the public hearings for Planning and Zoning Commission or?
No, it wasn't an issue during the planning.
Does
and
that have to
zoning
go back
commission
to make, try to amend it?
The fine schedule for the state runs on a rolling 12-month calendar too, so there might be some confusion if we have fines for first, second, third, and fourth offense that don't run concurrent with the same weed offense we have if we go with a 12-month calendar year. So that would be my only concern. But everything for the fines set by the state for the various offenses runs on a 12-month rolling calendar. And we can handle it in prosecution however you like, but our goal here, by the way, is compliance, not punishment necessarily, but if they all lined up together, it might be easier from a prosecution standpoint.
And I should explain, our process is to work with the property owner. And if the property owner is in communication with the code enforcement officer, he works with that property owner in regards to the violation. It's when we have that lack of communication and breakdown in communication, that's when we run into a problem in regards to, the moving on to the next step in the violation process. So as long as we have that communication occurring between the property owner and the code enforcement officer, the city works with it because we want to ensure compliance. We're not moving on to establish a court date and go before the judge. That's not our goal. It's compliance because that's what, the citizens want as well. It's just that unfortunately, sometimes with some property owners, we don't get that compliance. And that's what becomes very frustrated with the surrounding property owners is they're not seeing action as quickly as what they'd like to see. And so that's why we came up with this process of a habitual violator occurring if you get more than 2 times, then we move on to the GOS process and the abatement process.
I still think that layperson out there is gonna have a misunderstanding of it. When they're gonna see a calendar year or two offenses, they're gonna think that it starts again at the first of the year, and and gonna cause a lot of discontent there. I agree 100% about wanting to make sure people are in compliance because some of them are the habituals. Some of them, they just figure it's cheaper to let the city mow it for them than what they contract somebody else to do it. So they just wait for the city to mow and pay the bill. But so I don't know.
I'm sure we can't, I know it's communicated, but when they get that second notice, is there, something we can come up with that goes along with that notice that says, this is your second notice if you get.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's not, this
Just
would
the
be-
words, I'm sure we do it anyways, but just to specify.
Yeah, and some of the language, so this would be for the third time, so essentially somebody already would have.
But if we give them a warning the
strike.
second time saying, this is the order, if you, then the third,
Have you had much issues, problems, with what they're talking about, from
No,
the
no,
people,
in fact,
the violators, I guess, saying, oh, I didn't understand it, or,
Well, this is a total new process from what we've been currently doing.
Oh, okay.
Past it's been on the calendar year,
Okay.
where this changes it to a rolling 12 months. And
Gotcha.
in fact, what we're talking about is, we probably have about 10 or so property owners.
10 repeat offenders. Any other discussion or?
No, I think with the, as long as there's a notice, but with it, so everybody understands, and with us having to deal with the state's calendar, we'll probably need to stay with it.
Can staff put together that notice that they will get and get a copy out to the board so everyone can see it?
Sure.
That way we can see it.
that'd help.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right. Then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
We have to do roll call.
Oh, roll call. Do it.
Sorry.
You get to do it.
Alderman Arnold,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Knox,
Yes.
Alderman Mills,
Yes.
Alderman Skinner.
Yes.
The next one is Bill number B22-16. This is an ordinance approving the sale of certain real property in Grain Valley, Missouri to Scottish Investments LLC and authorizing the city administrator to execute all necessary documents required to effectuate and close said transaction.
I move that we accept the second reading of Bill B22-16 and bring it back for approval under ordinance number 2588.
Okay, I have a motion from Alderman Skinner to approve Bill B22-16, making ordinance 2588. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Mills. Any discussion?
I had some concerns. Since the last meeting, I didn't have time to go through all this, and not being involved in the whole process, not being on the board when you were going through this process. You know, I have to say that what is planned there and the people that we're selling to are all great on that, but I really wonder why we maybe shouldn't have gone out a second time to see if we could have gotten closer to what our purchase price was on that. Because the income from this property through taxes and personal property taxes are gonna take numerous years to recoup what we're losing on this piece of property. And I wholeheartedly agree that we needed it off the inventory if we weren't gonna do anything with it. But take such a hit on what we invested is gonna be, you know, tough to explain down the road to the citizens, you know, that look into it. And I know we may be too far down the road with this process and the people that were involved in what proposals and so forth, but I really think it should be reconsidered and put out for RFP again. I know it does happen. I bought the property I live in, I bought from the school, and it was on the second RFP from that. Because the first one came in way under what they expected, so they rejected everything and then went back out again. But again, we may be too far down that road with this process to consider that.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't one of the reasons why they came back the way they did, we thought, well, first of all, we only had, they're the only ones that did both buildings, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then part of that reason, because we required basically 2/3 of one of the buildings, we're not gonna require any rent off of for 15 years, right?
Yeah,
I'm
so,
sure that
yeah,
hurts it
when-
some, right?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of I guess the bigger picture side of direction from the board was not necessarily going out and just trying to get the most somebody's gonna pay for the property. That's why it was dollar amount and use for it. And one of those caveats was that the assistance council had to be accounted for. When we put it out, it was at least a year. The proposal that we got back that the board is looking at right now allowed for 15 years. And that's essentially 2/3 of one of those buildings with no income for that period. So revitalization of the downtown area as a whole, I think, was one of the big things that and obviously I won't speak for the board, but it was one of the things that was very important to them versus just going out and try to maximize that one-time property purchase and not caring as much about the use and future side of it, I guess.
Okay. I didn't know, you know, consideration of using it for an incubator type thing to help a small business.
And that is one of the things that, you know, they had mentioned trying to maybe work with the schools and have kind of a almost like a real-world econ class on how to run a business. But all of those types of things, I think, are something that they're looking at. You know, and it's somebody that's invested in the community already and wants to
They're
further
great people
invest.
that's wanting
Yeah.
to buy it and so forth. It's just
But
significant amount of money there.
it is. I think just some of those parameters that we put on it, I think limit the market value of it. You know, unless if you were just to put it out there and say, here you go, how much you gonna give us for it, and don't have any of those parameters lined up that says, you know, we need to know what it's gonna be, and keep in mind the assistance council has to be there. I think maybe you get a little different number back, but I don't know how many people are willing to take on that part of it, knowing that, like I said, 2/3 of one building is essentially no income for at least a period of time.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that portion of it. That's a problem with not being involved in the process earlier and coming in at the tail end of it. So,
Won't we be getting some of the money back in taxes also, right?
Well, yeah, any property that's owned by the city right now, you don't,
right.
it's a zero in property tax. So then depending on what goes in there and how the county values, yeah, you'll start to get that back.
That's gonna take a long time. We're looking at about $1,200–1,300 a year off of a $250,000 business at 31%. So you're talking a long time to come back up with the amount of money there.
Well, we also looked at maintenance, upkeep, you know, there were
Right,
some
I
other,
understand that, yeah.
you know, long-term things with the building too, that, you know, the city was gonna have to incur if we continued to, you know, to.
And if we had it
keep
just for another year or so, I mean, after 6 months, we're not looking at much of that. If we kept it on a long-term period, very, very correct on the cost there.
That's the decision we made, so we think it's the best going forward for the city, so. long run.
Yeah, I like the program that's going on in there. I was just having difficulty with the overall numbers on it. Okay, that's all.
Does have any comments or questions? All right, roll call?
Alderman Arnold,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Knox,
Yes.
Alderman Mills,
Yes.
Alderman Skinner.
Yes.
Next is Bill number B 22-17. This is an ordinance adopting and enacting a new code of ordinances of the city of Grain Valley, Missouri, establishing the same, providing for the repeal of certain ordinances not included therein, except as herein expressly provided, proving for the manner of amending such code of ordinances, providing penalty for the violation thereof, and providing when this ordinance shall become effective.
Mayor, move that we accept the reading of B 22-17 and make it ordinance 2589.
I have a motion from Alderman Arnold to approve Bill B 22-17 for its second reading, making ordinance 2589. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Skinner. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, roll call?
Alderman Arnold,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Knox,
Yes.
Alderman Mills,
Yes.
Alderman Skinner.
Yes.
The next is Bill number B 22-18. This is an ordinance by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grain Valley, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to amend the 2022 budget to allocate funding from park fund reserves for the purchase and installation of a new compressor for the Grain Valley Community Center.
Mayor, I move that we accept the first reading of bill number B 22-18 and make a second reading by title only.
I have a motion from Alderman Cleaver to accept Bill B 22-18 for its first reading, bring it back by title only for its second reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Mills. Any discussion?
Mayor, I move that we accept the second reading of bill number B 22-18 and approve it as ordinance number 2590.
We need a voice vote first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. If there was no discussion.
When to get the air
Here's the
conditioner fixed.
ready.
Nobody was saying nothing.
People are hot.
Had to move
Sorry.
on.
People are hot over there, come on.
Will it make it an igloo like it is here?
Yeah. All right, so would have any questions, comments then? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Okay, second reading of Bill number B 22-18. This is an ordinance by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grain Valley, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to amend the 2022 budget to allocate funding from park fund reserves for the purchase and installation of a new compressor for the Grain Valley Community Center.
I move that we accept the second reading of bill number B 22-18 and approve it as ordinance number 2590.
Okay, I have a motion from Alderman Cleaver to approve Bill B 22-18 for its second reading, making ordinance 2590. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Skinner. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call?
Alderman Arnold,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Knox,
Yes.
Alderman Mills,
Yes.
Alderman Skinner.
Yes.
The next one is Bill number B 22-19. This is an ordinance by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grain Valley, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to amend the 2022 budget to allocate funding from capital improvement fund reserves for additional funding to the 2022 pavement maintenance program.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Bill B 22-19, bring it back by title only for second reading.
Okay, I have a motion from Alderman Knox to approve Bill B 22-19 for its first reading, bring it back by title only for its second reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Cleaver. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Second reading of Bill Number B 22-19. This is an ordinance by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grain Valley, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to amend the 2022 budget to allocate funding from Capital Improvement Fund reserves for additional funding to the 2022 pavement maintenance program.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept Bill B 2219 for second read and bring it back as ordinance 2591.
I have a motion from Alderman Knox to approve Bill B 22-19 for a second reading, making ordinance 2591. I have a second.
Second.
Second, Alderman Arnold. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Arnold,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Knox,
Yes.
Alderman Mills,
Yes.
Alderman Skinner.
Yes.
That's it for ordinances. Next up is city attorney's reports.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Next up is city administrator and staff reports.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everyone that we have the citywide cleanup event on June 4th. That'd be from 8 to 2. And for any of our senior citizens, they can call Public Works at 847-0091 by May 30th and schedule curbside pickup for either June 2nd or June 3rd. And we're hoping for some good weather for the pool opening this weekend.
All right. Next up is Board of Alderman reports and comments. Alderman Cleaver,
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Knox,
I have nothing at this time.
Alderman Skinner,
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Mills,
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Arnold.
I just want to say congratulations to the graduating class of 2022, having their ceremonies this evening, and hope everything goes well for them there, and they have, wish them the best for their future.
That is actually where Mr. Davies is this evening. Is a daughter graduating.
Congratulations to him.
I know.
Doesn't seem like he's old enough to have one now.
Yeah, it'll sound. Next up is mayor's report. Got a few things I wanted to cover. First off, we do have a workshop next Tuesday at 6. And just for that, we just really want to go over, I kind of want to hear what everyone's, goals are for the city they'd like to see, and then any needs that you see particularly for the city, but any needs particularly in each of your wards that you see that you would like us to look at moving forward too. So just kind of get that out there. I believe Teresa's not here, but we're going to try to live stream this thing and see how it goes. It's going to work. Next up, I guess we'll have the workshop before then, but I wanted to let everyone know about on June 3rd, we'll be having our first ever Grand Valley First Fridays, where we have the food trucks on Friday nights. So for the first Fridays of the month, we're moving them downtown area, like around Front Street and Gregg, and along with that, we are allowing Grand Valley businesses to set up down there too that may not have a presence in downtown. I think right now we have about 20 businesses, Grand Valley businesses, that are going to come and set up, as well as the food trucks, and then as well as the businesses that are already downtown will be open as well. So I think that will be a good event. So we will have Front Street and Gregg Street closed because I know the Patel group is going to do some stuff with some bounce houses and dunk takes too also that they're doing. So we'll have that area shut off. So be a good time, really promote our businesses down there too that are there. That'd be good. And plus, are we going to talk about our grant thing at all down there? Maybe you're going to have a table down there, right? All right. And then you'll be hearing some things probably on the workshop the 31st. We'll probably have a short little meeting before that with some new business as well. We're doing something different with the beer garden at the fair this year, so I'm going to give everybody a heads up on that. We actually, instead of us trying to run it or another organization trying to run it, we sent out proposals to all of the bars in town to see if any of them wanted to basically run the beer garden in order to promote themselves and give back. So we got 2 proposals back for that. The proposal that was chosen by the Fair Board was from Mo Country. So Mo Country is basically going to run the beer garden at the Grand Valley Fair. So they'll have to come before this board and get the proper permissions and everything. So you'll be seeing that from them. And they were actually going to, any proceeds that they make, then they're gonna donate back. So they're just gonna take their cost off the top and do that. So we also got a proposal from Iron Kettle who wanted to do it. So kind of, because we want to be able to, support local businesses as well. They're going to be coming before the board, and they're going to ask us about being able to run basically a mini beer garden at the Food Truck Fridays, the same way we would run one at the fair, where the pavilion's all fenced off and all that. So they'll be coming to us for that permission and see if we will do that. So just want to give everyone the heads up. So if you see that on agenda, whatever, you're like, oh, what's this about? I think Iron Kettle may come the 31st to talk about their side. So next thing then is, I know you're all eagerly are awaiting the board liaison positions. I know Mayor Pro Tem is one. That one is done via motion. So we're actually going to have that on the agenda for May 31st before the workshop. So we'll make a motion. So we'll have a motion to approve Mayor Pro Tem at that time, and we'll take a vote. The rest of them we just appoint. So I'll go ahead and go through the list. Planning and zoning will be Alderman Knox. Community development and traffic, which we're going to try to do some new things with, will be Alderman Skinner. Our police advisory board that we're going to be gearing up and running again here probably in June will be Alderman Bass. He was on that previously. Alderman Cleaver is going to stay as our school liaison. Alderman Mills is going to be working kind of as a special ambassador, where if there's events that I cannot attend, that he will attend those. Like we had an event last week where we gave a proclamation to some high school seniors who were I think it was Army, right? Who signed up for the Army. So he went to that for us and presented them with the proclamations. So he's going to be doing things like that for us. And then Alderman Arnold will be our liaison to the Parks Board. So I think that is all I have. I believe we do have a need for an executive session.
We do under 1, legal, 3, personnel, 12, and then 13, personnel.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion then to adjourn into executive session.
So moved.
Motion from Alderman Knox. Have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Mills. Any discussion? All right, roll call.
Alderman Arnold,
Yes.
Alderman Bass, Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Knox, Alderman Mills,
Yes.
Alderman Skinner.
Yes.
All right, we'll adjourn executive session.